I'm Phil from Lightside Fact. Today we are going to start a second part on the lies of history or false truths that you have either read or seen. We will focus on three subjects: Joan the Pope, prehistoric men and gladiators. Are you ready to know the truth? Follow me. Joan the Pope. Wrong. According to the legend, Pope Joan pretended to be a man in order to ascend the throne of St. Peter. However, she was quickly unmasked, giving birth in public. But what really happened in reality? According to some sources, a young woman from Mainz, Joan, left for England around 850 to continue her studies. She probably decided to accompany her lover. From that time on, she got into the habit of dressing like a man and then went to Athens to study philosophy. After the death of her lover, Joan went to Rome. A few years later, she was appointed cardinal and was allowed to sit in the Roman Curia. Finally, she was elected Pope in 855 or 859, appreciated by the people as much as by the cardinals. However, during a procession through the streets of Rome, or during a mass according to other authors, on the occasion of Corpus Christi, Joan lost her water and gave birth on the way, before the eyes of the astonished Romans. The latter then decided to stone her and her child. According to some sources, they simply chased them out of Rome, but in some accounts, Joan died in childbirth. The legend of Pope Joan was accredited until the 16th century by the Church itself. However, not only does no contemporary chronicle accredit this story, but it is also riddled with anachronisms and inconsistencies. Indeed, the oldest university in England, Oxford, was not inaugurated until the 13th century. The title of Pope did not appear until the end of the 9th century, under the reign of John VIII. His predecessors were only bishops of Rome, and Corpus Christi was created by Pope Urban II in the 13th century, more than 400 years after the fact. It should also be noted that there was only a short period of time between the death of Leo IV and the election of Benedict III, although the presence of the anti-Pope Anastasius led to some complications. We have seen previously, it was from the 16th century that the myth of Joan the Pope began to be challenged. Several works were published on this subject, denying the legend, relegating the story of Joan to the state of pure fable. In reality, it was during the reign of John VIII, Pope between 872 and 882, that the myth first appeared. The sovereign pontiff, particularly weak, was quickly criticized by the Romans. The Romans called him Joan the Pope to make fun of his lack of authority. However, in spite of these numerous denials, the legend remains alive and well to this day. Fact and lie number 2. Prehistoric men used to strike flints to make fire. Wrong. Our ancestors sometimes used a flint to make fire, but it is important to note that it is almost impossible to create flames by simply banging these pebbles against each other. When our ancestors wanted to make fire, they had to equip themselves with several accessories. Pyrite or marcasite, stones rich in iron sulfide, which give off yellowish sparks when shocked by a solid pebble, which were replaced in the Iron Age by small steel objects, rifles. A stone hard enough as flint or quartz, intended to be struck against pyrite, marcasite, or a rifle. Tinder, a cottony material from a fungus called Undulina fomentaria, which is consumed by receiving the sparks produced by the impact of the flint against the rifle. Note that many techniques were used to increase the effectiveness of the tinder, such as treatment with saltpeter as early as the 14th century. Once the tinder box is set ablaze, it is enough to put it quickly in contact with straw or flax, then to blow vigorously so that the flames appear. Therefore, it is impossible to light a fire using only 2 flints, as these stones do not contain iron, which is responsible for the sparks necessary for the combustion of the tinder. This received idea comes from the widespread use of flint lighters, which were used to make fire until the beginning of the 20th century. Come on! Join me to hear a new historical lie. Before the fight, the gladiators would say, "Ave Caesar, mortuae te salutem." Wrong. We all have the following scene in mind, seen many times on television or in the movies. The gladiators, having entered the Colosseum, move towards the imperial lodge and greet the emperor, "Ave Caesar, mortuae te salutem." Hail, Caesar, those who are about to die salute thee. However, this idea is a historical untruth, as we will demonstrate. At first glance, the term ave in Latin was not some kind of hello, saying salute. Indeed, it was a statutory greeting, used only in the army. Therefore, gladiators could not use this military avowal, as they were not soldiers. Note that combatants, struck with infamy, could not join the army, even retired ones. Moreover, the term mortuae is misused. How could the combatants be so sure that they were all going to die in the arena? When gladiators fought in single duels, half of them were defeated, but not all the losers were put to death, far from it. Indeed, gladiators were the most acclaimed sportsmen of antiquity. The most famous of them were very profitable for the Lannists, and were therefore a real investment that could not be sacrificed lightly. Contrary to popular belief, gladiators were not treated like slaves, condemned to die with their throats slit in the Colosseum before the eyes of a bloodthirsty crowd. On the contrary, gladiatorial schools were attended by professional swordsmen, free men, aristocrats, women. Women's fights, which were rarer, were more sought after, as well as slaves. It should be noted, however, that the Emperor Hadrian forbade the sale of slaves to Lannists at the beginning of the 2nd century AD. The Romans were numerous to join the Ludi, because the career of fighter was very lucrative. Indeed, gladiators were real stars, just like today's sportsmen and women, who were acclaimed by the crowds during fights. This fame was not to displease women, some of them did not hesitate to take a gladiator as their husband. In addition, Lannists did not hesitate to use prostitutes to satisfy the desires of their students. In addition, after the fights were over, the gladiators received the best possible care, with the Lannists ensuring that their investments healed as quickly as possible. In the end, while many gladiators were killed in the arena, some of them managed to leave the ludus with a large sum of money in their pockets at the end of their contract. These gladiators, who then received the rudius, a wooden sword symbolizing their liberation, were free to establish themselves as notables with their money. It should be noted that only one gladiatorial revolt occurred in antiquity, that of Spartacus in 64 BC. This would imply that the fighters enjoyed much better living conditions than one would think today. But in this case, where does the expression Ave Caesar, morituri te salutant come from? In reality, this phrase was pronounced around 52 AD by soldiers condemned for serious misconduct, having to fight to death during a naumachia organized by Emperor Claudius. The purpose was to celebrate the erection of the canal that allowed the draining of Lake Fulcan. The sovereign, having heard the soldiers' formula, mumbled an answer, probably out no, which means maybe not. The combatants, having heard these words, then refused to fight, considering that the emperor had pardoned them. Claudius, incensed by the behavior of the soldiers, threatened to have them executed on the spot if they did not start the fight. In the end, the formula with Caesar, morituri te salutant, is authentic, but it was used in a specific context, contrary to what one might think today. Voila! It's time to leave now. If you appreciate this video, a little thumb is welcome from you. It's free to make me grow this channel and give me a reason to continue, because it's a lot of work after my real work in the real world. So thanks for your thumbs, your comments and subscribes. See you for a next video and have a good day.